So, well, I'm thrilled to finally get to sit and chat with you. I was trying to remember where I first became aware of you, and I think it might have been one of those big full page ads in the ITG journal. And but I'm thinking, and forgive me, but was that a Warburton ad that would have been in there?
No, it was Getson.
It was Getson.
Hmm.
Gotcha. Are you still affiliated? Oh, I like your Hello Kitty.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
Listen, I'm half Japanese. It's in my DNA.
Okay. Well,
Um,
that avoids maybe an awkward question because I'm thinking, well, ethnicity. I wasn't sure, but I
yep,
did see that Kiku translates chrysanthemum.
yep.
I
Hmm.
think that's beautiful. Very
Yeah,
cool.
it is, right?
So yeah, there's nothing really. Uh, Larry has nothing enigmatic to it. It's just a name.
You know
you
what?
know, it is
Sometimes
what it
that's all
is.
it is.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, so many directions that we could go. And lately, I've been starting with, um, well, in this pandemic, what does
Hmm.
life look like for you?
My calendar looks really empty.
I know, isn't it so sad?
I mean, honestly, my husband's he's also a trombone player, and I mean, between the two of us, we're just wall to wall work all the time. Like we
Hmm.
barely see each other,
Hmm.
which is nice when you're married. So, you get a
Yeah.
little break, and it's like, oh yeah, I like you.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. I remember why I married you, right? Is
Right,
that?
right. It all comes back. It's like, oh crap, this makes
Yeah.
sense now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean our calendars, and we share calendars so that we know where the other one is at all
Hmm.
times
Hmm.
because it gets confusing and
Sure.
we can barely keep track of ourselves. Yeah, and overnight our calendar just went from being completely packed to completely empty. So it's been really weird,
Hmm.
just even our daily lives being home when we're both, at home, has been very different because we're both workout addicts and the gym closed down, of course.
Mm.
So we work out at home, but it's just so hard. I was a personal trainer in my 20s, so um, we have lots of weights here and we have a
Hmm.
rebounder. Sometimes I'm bouncing in the living room, like, what the heck? What am I going to do? It's a pandemic. We have all sorts of gadgets and everything. And it took me a long time to settle into my new norm.
Hmm.
And I've been waking up super early, no alarms since this whole thing started. I mean, sometimes I'm up at 5, like, well, what am I going to do?
Hmm.
I'm up. And I start my day, I have some coffee, take care of business,
Hmm.
boring stuff. And then I work out. And so our daughter, she'll be 19 in August, and she went to the gym with us, and she had a
Hmm.
trainer. He's really jacked. It was really fun, because even though I was a trainer, I'm still her mom. So
Yeah, right.
that doesn't work out. I mean,
No, not as a private lesson teacher or anything. Yeah.
no, I know she used to play the trumpet too. It's terrible, but now she's playing bass, and I actually do once in a while work with her. But
Hmm.
so we would go to the gym together and all this stuff. And so I finally recruited her very recently, saying, "Babe, you used to have these biceps bulging out. We got to get you back."
Hmm.
And she also did kung fu for a couple of years. So she has started to join me for the second half of my workout, and I give her a
Hmm.
warning shot when I start, saying, "Get yourself up, get in gear. We're working out
Yeah.
in X amount of time." Um, and my husband, he's been very good about the workouts the whole time, but he's not normal. So it took me a little while.
Right.
Um, it's been really strange. I mean, we live in New York and spaces are small here. And we're
Hmm.
actually extremely fortunate because we have a two-bedroom in New York City. Um,
Wow.
yeah, but we kind of staked out our territory for the most part. So this is usually my room. I'm in the living room right now. The studio's
Hmm.
in here. Um, and, my daughter works in her room and David's back in our room, and
Hmm.
we sometimes pass each other, but it makes it feel more normal since
Yeah.
we don't get to spend a lot of time together when the world is actually the world instead of whatever's going on now.
Right.
And and we've always been big believers in family dinners, so we all cook, which gets a little dangerous in these situations. But we all actually, I just baked some coffee coconut muffins. You don't want to know about it.
Wait, were they good?
They're amazing.
Oh,
And I'm allergic to gluten, so they're totally gluten free and
oh yeah,
organic. I mean,
yeah.
they're actually healthy, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But so we're all cooking all the time, and we make different dishes, and we make up dishes. This is actually a brand new recipe I just tried last week. It was
Oh,
unbelievable. So, um, so we have dinner together every night. We've been doing a lot of game nights as a family. So we do video gaming and board games. We love
mm-hmm.
all the everything. So
Mm-hmm.
um, it's been weird. I mean,
Right. I mean,
nothing, it doesn't feel normal yet, but we're used to it. We're in a holding pattern like everybody else,
yeah, and even if a summer normally has any kind of lull to it,
Right.
right? I mean,
Well,
come
my summers
August,
get crazy. My summers
well,
go bonkers.
oh, okay. Well,
So,
so tell me about that. I mean, what usually happens during the summertime? Is it a big time for touring?
yeah. So, a lot of overseas stuff. My calendar was pretty packed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, I generally spend a large percentage of my summer somewhere else. And I hop around. And I mean, I'm very fortunate because I used to do those longer tours. And now, I mean, if it's 2 weeks, in a stretch, that's almost unheard of now.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoy that. I like coming home. I don't like checking bags. I travel extremely light, so I don't have to check a bag because I don't have
Mm-hmm.
patience and I
Right.
don't want them to lose things. So, yeah, I mean, I have like clothing stuffed in my horn case. I got everything everywhere. Um, so it's just such a different vibe. We're both
Mm-hmm.
home now, and we're all three of us are home now, but my daughter
Yeah.
usually is anyway. So,
Yeah.
uh,
What's the practice look like these days? Is there motivation or
oh, that's a rough one.
I
So,
know. And let me tell you before you answer,
uh-huh,
we're all in the same boat. You would
I
be
know.
surprised if everybody I've talked to, they're all
Yeah,
going to say about I think what you're about to say.
yeah. So, I mean, I've done quite a few projects since this has started. So that's motivation because I don't want to make a fool of myself. Um, I'm doing some teaching online now, which I'd never had time to do. So, um, but I also have to keep my face in shape because I have to play things for my students.
Right.
Hey, I can't play something and say don't do it like that because that was terrible. So I
Mm-hmm.
do
Mm-hmm.
need to. I kind of need to lead by example. So that's good motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my husband has been very good. He's also done a ton of projects, and he's very good about practicing. So then there's the whole guilt factor, like, oh God, why is he doing it and I can't do it, and this is crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and we actually, it's funny because it's really romantic actually, because sometimes we'll kind of lay in bed and we'll put a movie on the iPad and we'll sit there, we'll play long tones or we'll buzz our
Oh
mouthpieces.
my
Like,
gosh.
yeah. But wait, the best part is this was happening before the pandemic.
Oh my.
So
I've
we
never
literally,
heard of anything like that.
it can only work for two brass players, for
Yeah,
real.
right.
But,
Right.
and there he is.
Hot stuff.
Oh, look at that. Hi there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really hilarious. We should
Mm-hmm.
actually do a photo shoot because we're both sponsored by the Schmute. We should do a photo shoot of us just like laying in bed watching a movie,
Perfect.
playing long tones.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, it's hilarious. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we kind of we try to motivate each other. I think he's better at motivating me than I am,
Yeah.
motivating him. But
Yeah.
you know,
You mentioned Schmute. I remember at an ITG a few years ago, there's always that guy that
hmm
tries.
She's wrong about that. She's the motivator.
Oh,
oh,
okay. Okay.
he's going to a socially distanced session.
There you go. But there's always that guy that tries to find the high A on every trumpet, right?
Oh God, yeah.
He was standing right next to the Schmute table, and I talking to I don't know the guy's name that runs Schmute, but he goes, "I'd give anything to sell this guy one of my mutes right now." I mean, it's
Wow.
and so anyways,
That's hilarious.
yeah. Well, yeah, I know motivation seems hard, and when you do have students in that responsibility, right? It's already bad enough when you assign them a new etude, maybe something you haven't looked at in a while,
Yeah.
and then you're like secretly, okay, I've got to practice this week. But now it's even harder, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Or when you sit there and you go, "Whoa, that's better than I sound." That's
Yeah.
embarrassing.
Right.
I gotta shed.
Yeah. So, are you teaching just individual students? And
Yeah.
I mean, not as part of a university or anything like that.
Yeah. David teaches through universities, but I've never done it because I've never had time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I have plenty of time now if anybody's hiring.
Yeah, but and I can understand. I looked at your bio and I'm thinking, how do you have time to do anything? It seems like you've played with, and I'm so curious about the people you've played with. It's a who's who in the pop world.
So. Yeah.
And who, and I'm not asking you to give anything away, right?
Oh, no, I won't.
No tour secrets or anything like that. We'll save that for the bonus episode, right? But who was the first big star that ever contacted you and took you on the road or did a show with them?
Okay, so, I mean, the first one is obvious to me. But I do want to say that before that first artist, I did a one-off with Dave Wakeling.
I'm sorry, I don't know that name. Should I know?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think you're younger than me.
We're not going to talk about that.
No, we're not.
That's right.
At all. I didn't even do my roots. So the English Beat was an 80s band.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't know his name because, but anyway. So the gig was actually supposed to be with Dave Wakeling and Orange Juice Jones. Do you remember him?
No, that's another one. I'm sorry, I don't know.
I saw you and her walking in the rain.
Oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed. No.
It was kind of a one-hit wonder.
Okay.
But so I was super excited because I love both those guys. And Orange Juice didn't show up for the gig, so I didn't, but whatever. It was the thought that counted, I guess. I mean, how do you forget anyway, I've never forgotten a gig. So, but that was just a weird little one-off thing. And my first real gig with a pop star was actually Beyonce. So, if you're going to go for it, you just go for it.
Yeah. Now, I have heard of her.
Yeah. No, she's been around.
She was in those Austin Powers movies, right? I mean,
right. The name is coming to me. Hold on.
Right. Yeah. So, did you ever imagine that you would get to work with some of the people you've worked with?
Are you kidding me? I thought
I've never. Some people do have that path in their mind, right?
No, I definitely did not, and I really pretty much stuck to classical in all of my training and junk because I was told, oh, you're really good at this, and the worst line was, oh, you have such a beautiful sound. Like, I don't want a beautiful sound. I mean, I want to do weird things with this horn, And it actually took me a lot of time to kind of learn to not sound, to have that big beautiful sound. Thanks, Mel Broyles, actually.
Right?
Yeah, Mel was an incredible teacher, actually. So he actually envisioned me doing stuff like this, which is kind of funny.
Really?
Yeah, we would be in lessons, and I would play some passage, and he would say, young lady, you need to get yourself on the television.
On the
People need,
television.
yeah, people need to hear this sound. You need to get on
Yeah.
the television. I was like, I'm trying to hide in the middle of the orchestra. There's no way I'm going on the television.
Right.
Yeah, it was, I remember when I first got the gig, I thought, wow, it's really too bad that Mel is gone. I would love to call him and say, hey, I'm getting on the television.
Mm-hmm.
But I assume he knows
Mm-hmm.
wherever he's floating up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never expect. I mean, of course, growing up, I would listen to stuff and be like, wow, that must be so cool. But I was never that person in my mind. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I met Lou Soloff, I think, I don't know how old I was, maybe 15 or maybe even younger. No, about
Mm-hmm.
15. Um, Man, he was the best. We were friends until he passed away. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, first time I met him, he said, "So I hear you play classical." And I said, "Yeah, kind of." I'm all shy, like with my bad perm, and oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, braces. I was a mess. So he has this huge stack of trumpet cases. And so he kind of reaches in the middle and he just pulls the case out and everything, falls down just
Mm-hmm.
perfectly. Like he's done this a million times.
Right.
And it was this Monette, which I didn't even, I think I might have heard of them at that point, but I don't know. Maybe I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I was that
Mm-hmm.
aware. He said, "Get your mouthpiece." I was like, "Oh, geez, Louise, this is the spinning wheel guy." And so
Right.
I played for him, and he said, "Got a beautiful sound."
Oh no.
Like again, it's like the curse of the beautiful sound, but I mean, it's not a curse. It's great to have, and
Mm-hmm.
I worked, until my 20s to really develop that sound, but then I
Mm-hmm.
had to unlearn it and whatever. But I can pull it up if I need it for an emergency.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's just so creative. Wow, Lou, I miss
Well,
him.
you think about that sound. Oh, you know what? You mentioned Lou.
Mhm.
Um, Sergei Nikaryakov
Mhm.
was in Muncie, Indiana, back in 2011, I think.
Mhm.
Why he would come to the States for, to go to Muncie. But, anyways, I was at this recital, this concert, and in walks Lou. And it was kind of like everybody at the back of the hall going, "That's Lou. That's Lou Soloff." And it's like we're watching him glide down to,
Oh,
everybody had held him in such great regard.
yeah.
And I had never seen him except for, on tape or TV. And boy, just, a larger than life kind of
Yeah.
persona and
Yeah.
a great history. But that was a neat experience. But I was going to say the sound, you know, um, before you find your own voice,
Mhm.
right? You
Yeah.
do, and I tell my students this: you've got to study and try to emulate everybody,
Yes.
and all of those eventually become your voice,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I can see that you don't regret. I don't think you regret that classical training at all.
I actually
But
love it. I love that it's in my pocket.
mm-hmm.
Don't ask me to play anything like I used to, but um, it helps in a pop career, which I was very surprised about. I thought, oh well, a jazz career is gonna help you. No, honestly, I've spoken to a lot of different musicians, as you can
Mm-hmm.
imagine, about this stuff, and in pop, a lot of times it's like you need to be as exact as you can. Pop and disco, it's like, okay, no, it's supposed to go there. You
Right,
can't do anything but that. It needs to sound like the record.
right,
I mean, I have memorized solos from records and had to sound like them.
mm-hmm.
Otherwise, the artist is going, "Who is this terrible trumpet player? It doesn't
Right.
matter how I sound." It's like, I didn't do it like the record. Now
Yeah,
I'm screwed.
yeah. So now you don't just mean with. I understand with precision, like you can't lay back on something where.
Right. You have to, I mean, you have to, well, it's interesting because have you ever played with a track?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I don't do a lot of track dates. Actually, I haven't done one in so many years. Kind of a relief,
Mm-hmm.
because people will say, "Oh, well, track dates are so easy." It's like, actually, they're not, because if if the track that they're playing is out of tune, it's going to sound terrible.
Right.
It's a different player. Unless you recorded the track, you need to match that other player well, and the
Right.
entire section. So, sometimes it does have to be very precise.
Yeah.
It can be a real nightmare, but it can also be a relief.
You talk about I think maybe the first time I had ever played truly along with a track other than a recording studio.
Hmm.
I did a cruise ship gig back in mid 90s,
Hmm.
and the track was a reel to reel.
Ooh,
Well, tape stretches.
yes, it does.
And it turns out that they added the click in post production. They recorded the band first and then added the click after. So it was already off. And then as the tape, as the production went on, the tape stretches and stretches. And it was like trying to find, from week to week, trying to find where it's going to be this time.
Oh, that's
And
like trying to find the magic mouthpiece. It ain't
wait,
there.
there's not? Dang it.
Sorry.
Right? That's okay.
But if you
That's
find it,
okay.
let me know. Just drop me a note.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so, I want to ask you how old you were when, not how old you are now, how old you were when you went out that first time with,
I was older. I was a lot older than most people thought,
okay,
including the artist.
gotcha. You know what? And I'm not, we're going to leave that there because I
There
know
was a lot of
somebody's
surprise.
going to do math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you.
I'll edit it out. I promise.
Yeah. Okay. I was,
Bleep.
Wow.
that was my first big gig.
Wow. So just last year.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
it hasn't happened yet. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the call. It's going to happen though.
Yeah.
Yeah. 35.
So why New York City? Did you grow up there? What drew you there?
So I grew up in the woods in New Jersey, and I hated it. Sorry, Jersey people, don't like it. I mean, I didn't like where I grew up. We were extremely poor. I mean, I shared a trumpet with my brother for a year,
Wow.
and yeah, it was a real stretch to get me my own Bundy. I can't believe all the things that my mom managed to pull off for me. But we were like holes in the wall kind of poor, and hand me down tough skin pants from my brother, and he was a husky size, and I was pretty small, so you can imagine
Yeah.
I really grew up pretty tough.
Sure.
So once in a while the family would drive into the city, and the city was not nice back then. That was a different era. It's like Disney World right now. But back then, I learned what weed smelled like. I knew to stay away from people that could stand still in a windstorm, because those were the junkies. There was a lot, but I loved it so much. I can't explain it. I always hated living in the middle of nowhere. I love being surrounded by people, but being completely anonymous. And I still feel that way today. Like nobody knows, nobody cares who I am. Like, ugh, it doesn't matter if I was just on TV or something. They have no idea who I am. And I think growing up in a very small town, I hated that everybody knew me, and everybody, people would talk to you and know about your pets, and I didn't like it. So, and I love the energy in the city. I loved, all the sounds and everything. So this I knew when I was little that I would want to live here. I didn't know that I figured I would figure it out, but I didn't know, I didn't know any life other than living in the middle of nowhere.
So when you first started seeking out musical venues, where were you headed? Who were you listening to?
Well, I grew up in Jersey, so I listened to a lot of rock. I was and I still am, a huge Pat Benatar fan.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, love
Yeah.
Pat Benatar. I mean, I had dreams of her, and this is where we go into the, like, I never thought I would play pop, but I did have these moments in my child brain, you know. I would listen to Pat Benatar and be like, man, maybe she'll have a horn section someday. And, you know, it was a whole thing. But I loved her sense of musicality. She was actually trained classically as well. So I love that she was so
Yeah.
gritty, but so spot on. I mean, I listened to Pink Floyd. I mean, I'm trying to think. There was so much weird music in our house. Like we listened to Kiss. There was it just tons of rock and pop. My parents didn't listen to it, but I did. When I started playing the trumpet, my brother had been playing for 2 years already, so he started introducing me to stuff other than that. And that was nice. So I became a real Miles Davis head. I love Chet Baker. I got really into Maurice Andre. That was
Wow,
my call,
that's
not his. I
both ends of the
know.
spectrum there, right?
This is what I'm saying. Like I'm
Yeah.
all over the place. Um, I mean, you know, we of course we started listening to stuff like Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and that's where I first heard Lou before I ever thought I would get to even meet him, much less, you know, hang out with him with my kid at her birthday parties. I mean, you know, he was Uncle Lou. You know, and of course I listened to Earth, Wind, and Fire, and you know, all Chicago, all that stuff. Like every band that came up with horns, I was in. Like that was my thing. Um, I went through a little Bill Chase phase.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There should be a support group for us.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's the same with Maynard Ferguson, right? You know, it's like
yeah.
everybody goes through some sort of phase with Maynard.
Yes, totally. And of course, you know, Wynton, everybody loves Wynton. And I found Wynton really interesting because, you know, it's funny, I didn't love his precision, even though that's how I was trained. Um, yeah, I loved his flexibility between genres and how beautiful that was.
Yeah, it's not
Um,
fair though
yeah,
that
oh, no,
somebody
no,
can do
no.
that, right?
It's weird. There's something fishy about that. But I didn't like, I loved things. I loved hearing horns cracking and missing notes. I didn't do it though. Like I was taught not to do it, but I
Right.
loved that. I think a lot of times, you know, we're attracted to what we can't do or don't do or choose not to do or are told not to do. So that was like the rebel side of me wanted to crack a note. You're like, come on, I just want to miss one note, you know. So, um, but of course,
Wow, that I have to tell you, that is going on a T-shirt, and I'm going to put, I just want to miss one note, Kiku Collins, and that's going to go on a T-shirt. I think there's no other trumpet player on the face of the earth ever that has made that statement.
actually, I have a friend that I call Double Cheeseburger because when I first heard him play the first time, I was like, man, you sound like you stuffed a double cheeseburger down that horn. How do you do that? I want to do that. I sound like I just
Wow.
cleaned it this morning. It's horrible.
Oh,
You know, so,
oh wow.
you know, but I've been working on playing dirty. It's very interesting. I had to start learning when I started working for recording studios and doing jingles and stuff. Most of the jingles need to be precise, but once in a while, could you play that a little worse? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a skill. It's a skill that I was not taught.
I was going to say, and even from an ego standpoint, right? It's like
Yeah.
even though I can,
Yes.
should I? You know,
Okay.
right? You know,
I
my reputation, all, you know, somebody's going to hear me and think she can't play in tune. You know, I think, you know, you've got a niche.
I guess so.
Ingrid Jensen, I think, has a niche.
Yes.
You know, but I love too that people are trying to really step outside the box. I mean, it's not even a box anymore. They're just trying to step outside the weird shape that has become, you know,
Yeah.
trumpet.
Yep.
And I love what she's doing. You know, of course, electronics have changed
Yes.
so many things.
Yep. Yep.
Are you using electronics and stuff that you do?
You know, I haven't. Um, and you know, this quarantine thing is making me think of other things to do. So it's been in my mind. You know, my daughter is a bass player now,
Hmm.
so you know, when we look at equipment, I think, huh, is that something I could use too?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
why not, you know?
Yeah.
So I haven't gone down that path yet,
Hmm.
but it's definitely in my mind, and I definitely enjoy hearing it. So why wouldn't I want to do it?
Yeah. It just occurred to me. I was looking through your website
Mhm.
and listening to some of the samples, and of course, your flugelhorn playing gets some rave reviews.
Yeah.
And I want to say, what a beautiful sound. You know,
Ah,
I but it is.
but that's the sound that I was
Yeah,
trained to use. So,
yeah, but it is. It's
oh,
beautiful playing.
thanks. I never play flugelhorn anymore. Isn't that the weirdest thing?
By just because.
Yeah, I don't. I did play it on Saturday Night Live a couple years ago, and
Hmm.
it was hilarious when I got the call because I get this call, this SZA, this big artist, and they said, "Hi, we're looking for a flugelhorn player," and I said, "Okay, cool," and I don't think they realized that. Trumpet would be a primary instrument of anybody who plays the flugelhorn.
Hmm.
Because I showed up for the first rehearsal and
Hmm.
I brought my double case. I'm rolling it in, I was like, I brought my trumpet because this is weird. I just feel
Right.
weird leaving without my trumpet. And why did they look at it and go, "Oh my God, you play trumpet too?" I was like,
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
yeah, I do.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that might be the last time I played it on a gig.
Oh, it's still funny. Even okay, 79 feels so good.
Hmm.
How many years is that? 30, 40, 40 plus
Yeah,
years? It's like, but
yeah.
still, when you pull a flugelhorn out, people still go, oh, it's like
Oh,
Chuck Mangione. It's like, how
right.
is that still?
Okay. I can't believe you just said that because I just got a call from someone who used to hire me for stuff. We actually did a remake of Feel So Good, and it was his brainchild, and we never did anything with it. I mean, there's a rapper on it. I'm singing in the background. It's a
Hmm.
whole. And he just called me and said, "I kind of want to release this. It's really
Hmm.
great."
Hmm.
Now I listen to it and I think, not my finest days.
Mm.
Um, but I think it's funny that you brought it up because
Hmm.
it is such an iconic tune
Right.
for Flugel. So, wow, I should probably call him back, I guess.
Well,
Oopsies.
it's yeah. So it's oh, what's it? Fate. That I said
Hmm.
that.
I
That means.
know.
But didn't I see it on your website? I mean, I saw. You've
Yes,
got it on there, right?
yes.
Yeah.
But it was never, they never did anything with it, you
Hmm.
know?
Thinking about all the artists that have been in New York City, the big names, and uh, boy, I'm at a loss. It's a good thing I'm in control of this and I can edit
Pretty
some of
sweet.
this out.
Pretty
But
sweet.
um, well, you mentioned Lou Soloff. I'm just
Hmm.
curious. Others that I've got to get down to this club to hear so and so. I've got to get down to hear. Were there people that you were seeking out? You know, or you knew they were in town? You went to hear them.
Man, I mean, I love going out to hear music. Um, and I don't have enough time. I mean, I do now, and of course everything's closed.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but I I mean, everybody comes here. So,
Hmm.
you know, like we saw Phil Collins last year because I know, of course, we know the horn section. So, of course, I get a cute little note. Hey, you guys should, it's down the street from you. Come
Right.
see us. Like, duh, of course we'll come see you.
But now,
Um,
Phil Collins used to be principal trumpet with Cincinnati. And so there's a part of the trumpet world that is not thinking about that Phil Collins. They're
I
thinking about
know.
the
Oh
other Phil
no.
Collins.
Let's rewind to my background in listening to tons of pop.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I used to call him Uncle Phil. He was actually my first pop concert I went to,
Oh,
way back in the day. So
yeah. Very cool. And
I
what a
mean,
beautiful sound.
right. How about that? That's a
Well,
gorgeous
how can,
sound.
I mean, when you're surrounded by those kinds of sounds, what do you expect? I mean, that's, you try to model the sounds that are
Yeah.
around you.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, so sorry I interrupted. Well,
Oh,
and,
it's okay.
but now I'm thinking, but now people come to see you.
I
Oh,
guess.
well, yeah, right. I mean, do you have regular, well, let's assume that world was normal
Yeah.
again. Were there regular venues that you play in New York?
Not really, because my schedule, my tour schedule, gets so nutsy. Um, Plus, I don't enjoy being a band leader. Confessions of a trumpet player. I don't love it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like being. I love being hired. I love being a side person. That's my thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to worry about anything else other than I'm going to do a great job for this person. I'm going to do my best right now. Man, when you're a band leader, and my husband does it all the time. I don't know, it would drive me bananas.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're writing your music and then you're making sure everyone's doing it right. You're like, oh God, so and so is late, and they're wearing the wrong color. I don't know, man. There's all sorts of stuff you got to worry about,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I love showing up for the gig, but I mean, I have done it, and I mean, at this point, my husband and I have been seriously talking about doing a third record because I made the first one, and I think, maybe 4 years later, the second one came out, and then
Mm-hmm.
I was going to start doing a third one, and then I got sick, and I was like, everything got in the way, and here
Mm-hmm.
I am,
Well,
2 records.
there's a segue right there.
You
Let's,
like that?
if we can, let's talk about that a little bit.
Okie dokes.
Um, so when you say sick, what do you
Hmm.
mean sick?
Not a cold.
No. And,
So
and
yeah,
how'd you find out? I mean,
yeah.
that whole thing.
So David and I got married, and let's see, about a couple weeks later, my doctor called me and said, you're overdue for your mammogram. And of course, I was overdue by like a week,
Mm-hmm.
but I have a very strong family history of it. So, they booked me, a quick appointment because I was about to go out to do a 5-week gig,
Mm-hmm.
and at first I said, well, I'll just call when I get back, and they said,
Mm-hmm.
no, why don't you just come in now? Um, and of course, I had just seen my doctor, so I'm wondering, like, did you feel
Mm-hmm.
anything? Like, what's going on? So I went in and was told. Well, no, I wasn't told. I had the scans done. I went out to my gig, which was way out in Long Island. So it sounds like it's close because it's in New York, but it's like a 5-hour bus trip.
No, I've been there.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's not close.
I don't know how people live out there, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But there I was, and we were on. It was an off Broadway show, clearly because it was way out there. But it was incredible, but we were working on like a Broadway schedule, so I only had
Mm-hmm.
1 day off a week,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm out there. I'm trying to learn this book. I was also acting in the thing, so it was crazy, and I got a call, and they said, we just want to redo something, so let us know when you can do it. I said, well, I mean, can we wait a month? And they said, no, we want to do it now. I said,
Mm-hmm.
geez Louise, like, way to make me nervous about all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So then I had to get on a bus and take that long ride home, and I could only catch the last bus going back to the city
Mm-hmm.
because of our schedule. So I would have to take that late bus, and then the next morning I went and I had another test done, and then I went back out, and then they called me again and said, hey, we want to do another test. I'm like, come on,
Wow.
guys, you didn't get it? Like, do you not know what's going on? Did you go to school for this? I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking all sorts of things. Like, you guys are
Mm-hmm.
really harsh on my groove here, because I'm just trying to hang out, and
Right.
on my 1 day off, I'm exhausted. So basically, I got a call there's nothing to do out there in out there in the Hamptons.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm sitting in the gym, I'm working out. I'm like, we've got maybe 4 days left of shows.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting on the bike. I was having a good time. I'm binge watching something, I don't know. And I see my phone ring, and I'm like, oh, it's my doctor. That's weird. Usually it's whatever. So I picked
Mm-hmm.
up, and I figured, oh, maybe she has good news. And then she told me. I was like, what? What did you? So of course, I'm in the middle of this gym, right? And also, so of course I get all my stuff and I run to the locker room. I actually hang up on my doctor. I'm like, I can't deal with this right now. I need to get my
Mm-hmm.
butt back to the house that I'm staying in. So somehow I got back there, and then I called my husband. He was on tour in Brazil for like 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And he was back though, and he was just getting back and doing all his gigs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing that whole thing. I can't talk. And he knew immediately, obviously, what was happening. So, so I'm trying to talk. He goes, okay, I'm going to get the next bus out. I said, don't stop your gigs.
Oh, oh no.
Because we're this artist
Right.
couple. I mean, we had to take the gigs. So he listened to me a little bit. I said, I'm gonna divorce you if you show up tonight.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I said that. Yeah. So that worked. So he did his gig. I mean, how was he gonna get a sub?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was MDing the gig. But then he did sub out everything else. And then he came out to the Hamptons, and we were almost done with the show. So it was like 3 nights. And so he kind of helped me navigate my life out there for 3
Mm-hmm.
days. And meanwhile, I'm acting and playing in this thing. So I need to keep all of my chops up. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, my face is all puffy and I don't know how I made it, but I did.
Mm-hmm.
So then we dealt with it once we got home.
Yeah. And are you cancer free?
No, there's no such thing, actually. So I've never been in remission, but remission just means that, like the doctor's like, yeah, I mean, you look cool. And actually my oncologist does say, yeah, you look great,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I had to stop all of my treatment, and that's a very long story. But basically, I had to quit everything that I was doing because it was killing me and my career and everything. And so I've been doing everything holistically, and I see my oncologist twice a year if I can afford it, because those copays are no joke. Oh my
Right.
God. I just saw him recently. I was like, yo, take all my money. Let's do this. But basically he checks my blood, and and he's just like, yeah, you're doing what, the voodoo's working. Okay.
Well, you look fantastic. I mean, and of course, I've learned that somebody can look just fine
Yep.
and their body's being ravaged by
Yeah.
whatever. And
Yeah.
and in some cases, like you're talking, the chemo or radiation can do
Right.
well, and they do. I mean, that's what they're designed to do.
Oh my God. They destroy everything.
Yeah.
So, I had to stop everything I was doing. I mean, I went 10 months into one medication that really almost killed me. And, all of my teeth were about to fall out. We were mapping them out so that we could build me new teeth.
Wow.
Osteoporosis. I have arthritis in every joint from that medication. And,
How do you weigh that out? It's like, okay, I can continue this path,
right.
or
Yeah, well, the interesting thing, and I find this with a lot of doctors, and no offense to any doctors out there who happen to play the trumpet, but man, y'all don't disclose everything, okay? You gotta tell us everything. When I started, when I actually fought the medication for a little while. I didn't want to do it, and by the time I got to my my second oncologist convinced me. And basically she said, hey, if you don't like it, you stop, right? The side effects are supposed to be mild. I had nothing mild. Everything hit me like a ton of bricks. Like immediately, it was a nightmare, and they wanted me on it for 10 years. Yeah, every day for 10 years. So I took it every day for 10 months, and the last time I took one was I went to my dentist that day, and he's like wiggling my teeth around, like these are all moving. Um, we're going to have to, do a scan right now of everything, and we're
Hmm.
going to have to map it out because you are going to need all new teeth.
Wow.
And so we did the big scan, I was in the big, I went home. I hadn't had a chance to go to the gym. I always go in the mornings, or I just don't do it. My husband hadn't
Hmm.
gone yet. He said, "Listen, let's just go to the gym right now." And I thought, "Oh, I'm so tired. Everything hurts. All right, let me give it a shot." We got there, and I literally could not walk.
Mm.
So I don't even remember how I got home, honestly. I mean, it's 2 blocks away. It's not a big deal, but I could not walk. And I think probably the only way I was able to walk home was I need to get home and sit down. And so, and my husband was leaving for Japan the next morning, and we discussed it, and he said, "Okay, you're not taking any pills while I'm gone. We'll see how you feel." And, you know, uh, and so, but before all of this, it was kind of funny that he was the one that finally let me pull the plug because
Mm.
everyone's afraid, right? So 3 months in, I was having a lot of pain, and my tissue was changing. It was terrible. And so I told him, I said, "I think I'm going to stop taking this stuff." And he said, "You can't, it's going to get, we did all this research online, and some people say, it gets better, or at least it doesn't get worse." It got so much worse.
Mm.
So when it got to that point, he said, I can't get on a plane and
Hmm.
fly around the world, knowing that you can't walk.
Hmm.
So it was pretty amazing because the next day, and it might have been in my brain, whatever, but I felt a little better.
Hmm.
And that was, I never looked back,
Wow.
because why do you want to live like that? I mean,
Yeah.
if these pills are going to give me an extra 6 months, that's not worth it,
Right.
but
Right.
I feel like I would be dead. I would have been dead a long time ago. So here I am, not
Yeah.
dead.
Thank goodness.
I don't
Right.
think I'm dead. I'm not sure. Let me
I'm
take my pulse.
I'm very happy about that. I noticed in you listed a thing called Stupid Cancer,
Yeah, it is
.org
stupid.
or .com.
.org.
.org, and I'll put that in
Yeah.
the show notes. And of course the passing of Ryan Anthony a couple weeks ago,
Yeah. We were talking up right up to the end too.
and of course Cancer Blows is huge. And I
Yeah.
just I mention those because I want people, if they're not aware of
Hmm.
those, that there are places they can go to research this and give
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, one other one that I would love to mention is called the Tutu Project, like ballerinas tutu.
oh, TU, okay.
Yeah, like Miles Davis tutu. Um, I when I first got diagnosed, I would kind of look around the internet, like I'm gonna die, and I came across this photographer, Bob Carey, and he takes pictures around the world wearing just a tutu.
Oh my gosh.
He is not built like a ballerina, and I love him, and he knows it. So
Uh,
his wife, she's still, man, that is a warrior right there. His wife
mhm.
Linda, she has been stage 4, which is metastatic, which is completely incurable. Um, Forever. I wish I knew the number, but it's a ridiculous number of
Mhm.
years that she's so amazing. So he started doing this because, he's a photographer, and he thought, how can I cheer up my wife? She just got diagnosed with cancer.
Mhm.
And he just, I guess, took a couple of pictures in a weird tutu thing, weird situations. And I mean, it just turned into a movement.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm just so honored to even know these guys. I
Mhm.
was a fan from before my first visit with my, with my breast surgeon. And then when I finally met them, we became very good friends, and I guess I'm an advisor for the Tutu Project. And one of the things that I really enjoy is that they're not saying we're going to cure you or anything. It's like, it's literally just a project to help patients and do nothing more. I mean, and I mean, they're so generous with their time. I was involved with a charity called Cancerland with a friend of mine, Champagne Joy, and she passed away from metastatic cancer a few years ago. And but I actually met Bob and Linda because I was at an event for Cancerland and they showed up. And I mean, I don't get starstruck. I mean, you've seen my resume. I was starstruck because I was like, this is Bob and Linda Carey,
Oh, wow.
This is the guy in the tutu. So we've been very good friends ever since. And I came on board as an advisor, and he did a photo shoot for me for Lymphedivas, and I mean they're incredible people. So I do want to mention them, and I know that I mentioned them for a very long time now. That was a very long
that's great.
stretch.
That's great.
But they're amazing, and they donated a nice chunk to Cancerland the day that I met them.
Yeah. It's one thing to go through it yourself, but I've also seen the toll it takes on family.
Yeah.
And it's, I think your husband, it's, while you're going through this, I mean, it sounds like he was right there. And, but I watched my dad 14 years suffer. And my mom, she paid the price. I mean, it exhausted her. And it's not just isolated to those that have it. And so I say that because I just want to recognize that it affects everybody.
Yes. I mean, my mother actually had the same stuff I got going on for 10 years. And I was a kid, but I ended up taking care of the family and taking care of her. It was a lot for a kid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being open about all that. So let's talk about something a little bit easier and lighter.
Okay.
What's it like to be a woman in a man's profession? And I'm putting my air quotes there. First of all, I don't believe that, but that was something that you and I had kind of talked about a little bit before this interview.
Yeah, well, it's definitely changed over the years, and I'm so happy to see that. When I was in fourth grade when I started playing, and they had us pick instruments, and it was very strange because we had to do some sort of a test to see how much you knew about music already. And I had played a little piano. I was terrible at it, but I played a little piano and whatever. I had learned some music reading by that point. So, I don't know if I got the highest score, but I got one of them. So I got, first pick or whatever. And I said, I want to play the trumpet. And the teacher said, well, but you're a girl. I said, wow. Newsflash, right?
Wow.
And I said, right, but it's the only thing that we have. And I think the light bulb went in his head, because he, of course, taught my brother, too. He was like, oh, okay. So then I was allowed to play the trumpet. And there were other girls that did it, but I was the first girl up, and he assumed that I would pick the flute or the clarinet, which I really wanted to. But I had instructions from my mother, we're not buying anything else. We can't afford anything. So, yeah, it started out really weird. But it quickly changed, at least with my band director and my peers, when we started playing. I don't know. It came easily, and I think it's from watching my brother play, And, just I knew fingerings, and I didn't know how I knew them. It was like, why is this doing this? So that resolved itself pretty fast. But the outside world didn't understand all of that, and so you start auditioning for these all-state things, all the things that they torture us with. And but they were always blind auditions. So I would do really well because it was a blind audition and they didn't know what I looked like or,
Hmm.
anything about me. And I remember by the time I got to high school, I realized I need to make sure that they can't hear anything about me. And so I would always have, you know, water right before I went in so I didn't have a little tickle in my
Hmm.
throat.
Hmm.
I mean, there were so many things that I did. I made sure I always wore sneakers to audition, so I just
Hmm.
sounded like a human being in sneakers. Um, and if they saw my name, they weren't even sure because I didn't
Right.
have a typical Jersey girl name. So um, I had some very weird first rehearsals though. When you walk in and nobody knows who anyone is,
Hmm.
and I would walk in with my my case and look around and where am I supposed to sit? Oh, there's the trumpet section, and I would sit down in the principal chair,
Hmm.
and they'd
Hmm.
be like, people would start to correct me
Hmm.
like, well, this is the principal trumpet chair. I'm like, oh, cool.
I'm in
I'm
the right
here.
place.
Right.
Yeah.
Here I am. But a lot of confusion. Um, and I mean, I wasn't the only girl ever to do
Hmm.
this,
Hmm.
but it was not welcome
Hmm.
with my trumpet peers. Very few of them thought it was cool. Uh, but it was what it was. I mean,
Hmm.
it's funny because at one point, I think for maybe 2 years, there was a private school for boys, and I got a call from a friend of mine who played oboe, and she said, "Hey, I'm a ringer for this all boys school because they didn't have oboe players,
Hmm.
and they actually said they're looking for trumpet players." And I said, okay, cool. So I'm just like, yeah, I'm a trumpet player. I can do this. So, of course, whatever, that she gives them my name. Okay,
Hmm.
great. We got the trumpet seats filled, and I show up. And, I mean, some of the faces are going, I don't get it. You know,
Yeah.
is this a practical joke? Am I on candid
Hmm.
camera? Um, but it happened, and it was funny because we would actually audition for chairs. So that
And
happened. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So that was
um,
fun.
yeah. Do you know the name Carol Reinhardt?
Of course.
The
Jen.
significance of what she had done,
Yeah.
and I'm excited. I'm so excited to get to talk to her.
Wow. I want to be a
And
fly on the wall.
yeah, well, if you wanna be there, you can be there. But yeah, and Abby Conant, was
hmm
another that
Yep.
with the Munich, and talked to her, and her story was just, but what a trial she had to go through
Oh my
after
God.
she got the job. I mean, it was
Mhm.
just, it's hard to believe that there was an atmosphere like that. That's,
It's still not totally
I don't
gone.
know. No, and racially, right? I mean, there's
hmm
so many things to work on.
Yep.
Um, and uh, boy, I hope I'm raising my boys the right way, to not to I mean, to see people for who they are, but
Yeah.
not to base anything on, judge
hmm
anything on that. But
Yep. Well, the fact that you're
um,
saying that means that you're probably doing it right.
I hope so. I hope so. I can look back at my own childhood though and think, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
remember, growing up in community where
hmm
certain words were used all the
Yes.
time,
Yes.
and now it just it shocks me
Yeah, I
to
know. I
even think.
I grew up in a similar situation.
Yeah. So, well, what's on tap for you next? You said you're
Ugh.
working on some projects.
Yeah.
Maybe a recording with your husband, right?
Yeah. Well, and technically it would be my record
Mm-hmm.
because he's got seven as a leader.
Oh.
Um, Yeah, he needs no motivation to make music. He's incredible. He's been writing this whole time. He's been recording. He's been mixing and mastering. I mean, he's just from another planet. He's not from my planet, that's for sure. Um, but because I've never had time to make that third record, um, and we started talking about it during this break, and I've just been saying, oh, I'm not there yet. I'm not there. I'm trying to warm up some days. Like, ooh, I should really warm up because it's what I do. But I feel like my brain is ready to, and we've never actually really written much together. So that will be very interesting. We're going to learn a lot about each other if we haven't already during this quarantine. But yeah, so we're talking, and our styles are so different, and our methods are very different. So we've just been talking about how can we make this work where we don't kill each other, and come out with a great product. So, and we have a small studio here, so we can record horns all day.
Yeah.
And there are studios that that we can bring a band into, and I think New York at least is getting to a really good place because we've been so careful. New Yorkers are just not fooling around with this stuff. So everybody's wearing masks. People are staying home. People are staying away from each other.
Good.
It's great.
Good.
It's great. So things are going, knock on wood, well here, except when we get tourists coughing all over us.
Right.
But
Means
it's incredible how unemployed we are and how busy we are.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I can't figure it out. How am I so busy? Where's my work? But, we're making things happen.
Yeah.
I mean, freelancers especially, we are so used to constantly being busy. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. No matter what even if it's baking coconut coffee muffins.
Yeah, I'm going to message you for that recipe.
Oh yeah, I'll send it. It's already on my brain that I'm sending it to you.
Okay, yes, please. Well, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned Jersey. Ricky Riccardi, do you know him?
No, but what a name.
Well, I know, right? I'm so close to Ricky Ricardo.
I'm so mad that it's not.
Well, he's in Tom's River. I don't know how far that is.
Oh, that's far.
But he's become the Louis Armstrong expert.
Oh.
And he has the archive, and I think, runs the Louis Armstrong house there.
Which I love. I've been there so many times.
Well, Byron Stripling is the one who told me about it and said, he's witnessed people weep as they walk.
I might have been one of them.
Yeah.
I've been there so many times. I bring everybody there.
Really?
I love it. It's an experience.
Yeah.
You hear them talking. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. Right. And all these tapes, Ricky was telling me about all these tapes that Louis had made that just, not even rehearsal. I mean, it was he and his wife. And,
yeah, they're hanging out.
Yeah. And yesterday he got one of Louis's trumpets from the 20s or 30s, I think. It was brought back, and he has it in his possession again. Wow. There's a picture of it on Facebook.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but that's somebody I think you might enjoy.
That sounds fascinating. Yeah.
And if you're ever through Indianapolis, I would love to buy you a cup of coffee.
Again.
Or, right? Well, you never know. I'd love to meet you in person at some point. Maybe I'll be shouting, from the audience, Kiku!
Or like,
we love
Kiku!
You! Yeah.
That was the wrong note.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, right? Yeah.
That was so messy.
That was the wrong note, and that was the best wrong note I ever heard.
No, It wasn't beautiful at all.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, well, please take care of yourself and your family. Hope you guys navigate through this beautifully.
Yeah,
and
we're figuring it out.
Yeah. So thanks again, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.